All right. It's great to see everybody. I want to start off by just really thanking our players, coaches, front office, support staff for the hard work and energy that they've put into this. As you know, when you have change and you're not in your normal routine and being on the same team and you're collecting new people, new schemes, there's a lot of strains and stresses to get up and running, and everyone's answered that call and put the time in and done a really good job with that. I also want to thank our business staff and operations crew. You know, over the weeks, just looking out the window and seeing what it takes to get camp up and running, the bleachers, the fan experience, everything like that. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate what they put into it. You know, I'm excited also this is the first time we get to interact with our fan base. Just thinking about camp in general, you know, I think for a while we probably took it for granted that our fans would be there, we'd be able to interact with them, our players would sign autographs, all of those things until it was taken away from us. And for this to finally be back and we can interact with our fan base, I think is important, and I'm looking forward to it. In terms of the team, I'm really pleased in the direction that we're headed. I thought this offseason we made a lot of strides forward. I thought the standards were lifted from day one until we broke, and I'm excited to see us build off of that and continue to get better. As we go through camp, I'm looking for a couple things. One is for our guys to compete and bring the absolute best out of each other. I think that's when you become a really good team, is guys are pressing to be the absolute version of themselves possible. The other thing is resilience. You know, in camp, every off season, and that goes into the season, there's ups and downs. A resilient team, I think, is absolutely important to be successful. And to see that stability, see guys go through those up and down, have short memories on bad days and come back and have good days, I think is really a very important characteristic of any team. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing is, when you have so many new faces, it's units starting to gel together and play together, communicate together, and be as one. And I think, again, if we can do that, we can be successful. In terms of gelling, part of the challenges there are all the new additions that we've had, and a couple of them I haven't addressed yet, and I'll go through a few of them. N'Keal Harry is one of them that we trade for. I'm excited about him. I think he has a really good skill set. He has great physical traits, and I think he has something to prove for sure, and I think he has the chance to improve this football team. Michael Schofield has opportunity to come in, compete, make the offensive line competitive, and again, if everyone's competing, we're going to get the best out of that unit. I'm excited to get Jaquan Brisker signed up and here. I gave him a big hug when I saw him, and I'm excited for him and the direction he's going, just like all the other rookies that came in the offseason. He's headed in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what he does this training camp and during the season. And then the newest addition, just a couple minutes ago, we got Riley Reef signed up. That's another opportunity. I said it from the beginning. Our front office is not going to stop just chipping away and bringing good football players on this team to compete and make the whole team better. And then I want to address just the Roquan Smith situation. So my feelings for Roquan don't change at all. I love the player and the person, and that won't change. The one thing I'll ask everyone here, I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, and I get it. I'm just not going to talk about contracts and all that. So I wanted to just make sure we addressed it, though, that in terms of my feelings for him, nothing changes.
Yeah, so we're excited about starting a training camp. First year and really every year, you're laying the foundation for your football team. So we're going to be sitting here next year. It's going to be the same thing, because I believe in, lacing up your shoes, start from square one every single year. So it's important that we laid a good foundation in the spring. And this will be the third time or fourth time they're going through the installs, which is great, so they can learn. But really, it's really how we operate. How do you operate as the Chicago Bears? And some of those things are really basic, but it's something that we have to make sure we operate that way. One of them is being on time. So that's the important part for us. Another thing is being respectful. So we're building these relationships in the building, coach, player, coach, staff members, anybody that works for the Bears. That's building those relationships and being respectful is really big, and that's something that we'll cover with the players, and then working hard. That's the thing, and we say that all the time, and that's a basic thing to say. But we know that our foundation that we build upon is going to be built upon the principles that we believe in. And one of those things is hard work. And the intensity piece that I talked about in the spring, that's going to be on display during training camp once we get the pads on. And then taking care of the ball offensively and when we're carrying it in special teams, and then being fanatical about taking the ball away. That's going to be something that we're looking for during training camp. And then we're going to go through a bunch of situations. We'll do them at the end of practice, during practice. Situational football is so critical. And from 3rd down to 2-minute and everything that you do, red zone, into game plays, we will work on those tirelessly to get those done. And then we're looking for, like Ryan said about the execution and the competes. We want to see guys compete. We have a lot of spots on the roster that are in flux right now, and we're just trying to find the best combination of players. Be it offensive line, moving a guy from outside to inside to outside. If it's defensive line, moving a guy around for pass rush purposes, inside or outside. We're going to do that all across the roster. Moving a corner from inside to outside, receiver inside to outside. We're going to do all those different things to find out the best combination for the Chicago Bears going forward. And when you do that, what you do is you accomplish a couple things. Obviously, seeing guys' skill set, that's an important part, but also the flexibility when injury happens. We're going to have injuries during the course of the year. We're going to have to flex guys, move guys in and out, and we have to be able to see that as coaches and as personnel guys. We got to make sure we see that. What can a guy operate and what can he do? So that's an important piece as well. Now, the execution side of it, is going to be big because you got to know what to do, right? So you'll hear me say this a few times. I've said it many times in my past. The whole alignment, assignment, key technique, and speed. To be able to do that, you have to know what to do. And that's an important piece for each individual player to get in his playbook, to make sure he's studying, to make sure he can execute with speed. And that's something we're looking at, and we never walk by that. So setting the standards is a big part. We're never going to walk by a mistake. We measure every single thing with our principles. So it's a tireless job for the coaches. We look at every single play that we're going to watch. If it's one-on-one, if it's team periods, we're going to look at everything because that's how we build the foundation for success. So I think it's an important time of year. I'm excited about it. Ryan and I are super excited about getting going here with the players. We have meetings today, some of the league meetings that you have to have with the players, the mandatory ones, and then we'll have a team meeting tonight at 6 o'clock to outline the day for practice tomorrow. So we'll open it up to questions from there.
Ryan, did Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn report today, and will they practice tomorrow?
So on my way down here, I was told they're here. I haven't seen them myself, but I was told that they're here.
So, and you expect them to practice as usual if they're here?
Right now, we're going through the check-in process. That's by noon, and we'll kind of take it one step at a time with that.
What has Roquan communicated to you in regards to his intentions for this camp and what exactly is on his mind?
I'm just, I'm not going to get into just that situation at this time.
Are you going to talk about it if he's not practicing?
Am I going to talk about if he's not practicing?
Like if he has a hold-in, will you discuss it then?
Yeah, I don't know what his intentions are. I know he checked in, and we're going to take it from there and gather information and take it one step at a time. That's all I can do.
As somebody who participated in every single OTA, did you have an appreciation for that from him, and were you surprised by the development?
Yeah, that's our expectation of everybody, to show up and get better and put the time in. So, yeah.
Ryan, with the two veteran offensive linemen you signed this week, what type of shape are they in? Like, do you expect them to be able to jump right in there tomorrow?
Yeah, so we'll we'll go through that process. Obviously, there's a process to sign them, and that's a physical, make sure that step's taken care of. And then from there, we'll see what shape they're in and adjust accordingly. But again, the purpose of that is for them to come in and compete and make that unit better.
Matt, the idea of the hold-in is relatively new because of the CBA in 2020. How do you go about, incorporating these players who might be physically present but not participating in specific drills?
I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But really, you want to just get the max out of them. Whatever they can do, and go from there. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Ryan, is Roquan still representing himself?
You'll have to, I'm not going to talk about that.
Does that complicate things? I mean, not knowing who to, to get a resolution to something that's obviously pretty high profile?
If a player didn't have an agent, it would be different situation than if they did. Yeah.
Ryan, without getting into the specifics, how do you feel we ended up here with the Bears and Roquan Smith, where both sides, you and him, have been saying for months you intended to have a future together? This seemed like a foregone conclusion, and how much of an issue is it now that this is how you start training camp with him?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the contract piece, but, like I said about him, nothing's changed from my end in terms of how I feel about the player and what he can bring to this team.
Matt, what does Roquan, from your perspective, mean on the field for you?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
What does Roquan mean on the field for you? What have been your impressions?
Yeah, it's really the same as Ryan's saying. Leader, obviously a really good player. He's put some good snaps out there. He's played a ton of football and some really good football. So we feel the same about that. That's not going to change, and we anticipate that going forward too.
Do you think comparing him to Darius Leonard is fair?
Comparing it to Darius, yeah, I don't think comparisons. Everybody's different. They all got different skill sets. They're both really good linebackers.
Ryan, without getting into the contract at all, is it your preference to get a deal done with Roquan now, or would you prefer a chance to get to know him better and see more before you pull that trigger?
That's a tough question. I'm not going to get into the thoughts on, what I would prefer and all of that. I just kind of deal with what's on the table right now.
Do you have any players that you anticipate going on PUP or NFI?
Not at this time.
Ryan, with the two offensive linemen, Schofield and Reed, skill set wise, what do you like about them, and how do they kind of fit what you're trying to build there?
Yeah, just in terms of athleticism, quickness, that kind of fits what we're trying to do. In terms of the makeup, the toughness, the grit, that stands out as well. And both are very intelligent.
With Reed, left side or right side?
Yeah, it doesn't really change from what we've been doing from the beginning. I think we're going to find the best five possible, and obviously I think that's the goal. If we can get the best five and that unit can play really well together, then I think we're in a good situation.
Coach, that's obviously going to develop over the course of the next month, but tomorrow, who takes the first snaps at left and right tackle?
Yeah, so you'll see tomorrow. It's just because what's great about signing those two guys is they have flex. During their career, they've played left, they've played right, they've played inside. So for us, it's great by Ryan and bringing those two guys in here. The experience and the flexibility those guys have it's just outstanding. So that enables us to do a lot of different things. We're in a much better spot with those two guys on our roster than we were 24 hours ago. So we're excited about that.
Obviously a very important camp in Justin's development. Over the next month, 6 weeks, what do you want to see out of him to pass the test that he's progressing the way you want him to?
Yeah, I think you want to take, first of all, where he left off from off-season programs and carry that into training camp and just continue to improve. And there's a couple things. One is being able to, we're going to continue to add things to the offense, and the coaches will. And he's going to have to continue to grow based on what he sees and the defense throws at him. Continue to make plays, and I think he's doing everything he's supposed to, and we're excited, in that direction. And then I think one of the most important pieces is that command. Continue to bring that command, that leadership, And I thought you saw that when we were finishing up the offseason as well, but just continue on the path that he's on.
What's your collective philosophy between the two of you on how much preseason game action you'd like to see him get?
Yeah, so we're discussing that as a staff. We've discussed it, obviously, before we left. So we haven't finalized that yet, but once we get closer to it, we'll start narrowing that down. But we certainly want to get some good quality reps for everybody in there for all the games. So we're excited about doing that. We have a young football team, so we feel we got to get some good game reps and get some gelling going with each unit.
Ryan, how do you feel you dealt with sort of the challenges that come with your first off-season in charge and Roquan Smith, the situation included, other stuff like that? How do you feel you've gone through this, dealt with it?
Yeah, you got to take one thing at a time. That's a part of this job. Is there's something new. Literally every single day, there's something thrown at you, and you got to make decisions. You got to get with your team. You got to talk through things. You want to do what's best for the Bears at the end of the day. So I feel like it's going well. There's going to be more things on the way, and we're just going to keep chipping away and working through them.
Ryan, you wouldn't be the first-year general manager to be tested like this.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you lean on when trying to navigate through it?
Yeah, I lean on my crew. I got a bunch of really good people up there. And again, the same conversations from the draft don't change when we get into this situation. We get together and we talk about it, and we try to find out what's the best route to, again, put the organization in the best situation.
Right, and you talked previously about bringing in playmakers to help Justin. As the roster stands now, how do you feel like you have enough of those?
I don't think you can ever have enough, but I'm happy with the guys that are in the building, and we're going to stay active, trying to find playmakers and continue to make it competitive. And again, it's on paper right now, so we got to see what these guys do. We got to see what they do in pads, and we got to see what they do in preseason. So there's a bunch of kind of steps along the way. And yeah, you can feel great about it now, but we got to actually see it happen against opponents.
With N'Keal Harry, why do you think it didn't work out for him the first few years of his career with New England, and what makes you think that this place can give him a fresh start?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. I wasn't in that building or anything. I just know what he's capable of, and I want to give him the opportunity to come here and show that he can do that and get things on the right path.
Do you think Robert Quinn wants to be here, or has he expressed a desire for a trade?
I haven't had that conversation with him. I would hope that he wants to be here. So that nothing's changed on that front.
How does he fit in? You've got a roster that's dramatically younger than it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
A lot less experience. How does he fit where he's at in his career with where you guys are at, sort of constructing and putting this thing together?
Yeah, I think it's important to have guys that are experienced, that have had success in this league and know how to play and practice. So for me, that's what he brings.
Right, with Larry Borum and Tevin Jenkins specifically, what were you able to see from them in the off-season program? And then I think it's safe to say if you felt like they were entrenched starters, you wouldn't have gone out and signed a 33-year-old veteran tackle with starting experience like Riley Reef has. So what do they still have to prove to you here in training camp before the season starts?
Yeah, we got a ways to go. If you think about the off-season program, everything's done in helmets, so we still got pads. I thought they both did a pretty good job. I know that they were challenged in the off-season to continue to work on their bodies, to adapt to the scheme that we're running. And, we'll see here in a couple hours, how they did this off-season. But again, I think the way to look at it is just adding competition for guys to compete, and you got to go. You got to perform, and that's for everyone.
The offensive line, it's understandable wanting to move guys around to find your best five.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a deadline by which you want to have that starting unit set so you can get that unit gelling for week one?
I would say there's not a deadline, but like I said in the spring, the sooner the better. We just added a couple pieces, so that's going to be 2 more pieces to the puzzle. So, which is a great thing, like I said, with the position flex and guys moving in and out, moving to guard center, inside, outside, from guard to tackle. So we'll figure it out. I know this, Chris Morgan's a heck of a line coach, and we'll figure it out with him and Getsy, and we're excited about that.
Brian, with somebody around who is respected and well liked by the players, What went into your decision to go in a different direction, and why the timing of it at that point in the calendar year, and perhaps why he was on vacation?
I missed the beginning.
Sue Campbell, someone who was respected and liked around here, what went into your decision to go in a different direction, and why at that time of the NFL calendar year?
Yeah, so with that, I wanted to reshape our player development group. The one thing I've noticed, and I knew this coming in, is just the pressures that this game puts on you. There's a mental piece to this that's absolutely critical, and I wanted someone that could come in and be educated through their education, through school, on how to work with players to get their mindset the right way. How do you clear your mind? How do you it helps resilience too, but how do you go to the next step, kind of push away a bad game, a bad practice, or things that are wearing on you mentally? How can you overcome that? And I just wanted to go a different direction on the support that we're giving our players in that aspect of it.
Ryan, did Dakota Dozier have ACL surgery?
So I'm not gonna, get into specifics of injuries, but yeah, it was a significant injury.
You mentioned it.
Your intro that you felt like standards were lifted between January and when you guys broke for minicamp. Specifically, what ways have you seen that and felt the standards lift around here since you took over?
First, how we practice. Coach always is talking about finishing. And you saw a team that finished playing fast. They played faster than the first day. The energy on the field, the way the unit, communicated, you could see that pretty clearly. And again, like I mentioned in the very beginning, as long as we take where we left off and bring that to camp and then continue to go upwards, I think we'll both be really happy.
Right. Address the issue in broadly of mental health. That's something when we were all young, it was sort of, just a macho league, and now the importance of mental health and mental well-being.
Yep.
In general, your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts? Yeah, it's critical. It's critical. I'll be honest. I have a sports psychologist lady I call on a monthly basis. There's pressures to this job. There's pressures to life. There's pressures, and you need someone to talk to that's professional. So I think it's absolutely critical that you can lean on someone that can give you advice on how to handle different situations so you can perform at your highest possible level.
Ryan, you had 3 players arrested in the offseason. How did you take that personally? How did that reflect? Do you feel that reflected on you? And as a manager of people, how did you discipline or handle the situations, not only individually but collectively, when you're trying to establish a certain culture?
Yeah, as a manager, it bothered me a lot. Anytime your phone goes off and there's an issue, you got to take responsibility. It's on my watch. So it absolutely bothered me. I had conversations with everyone. I've already addressed the Pringle one. But I had conversations about how I felt about it. We gathered information, and we're taking that through the process and handling it what I think is the right way.
Do you still feel like you've got the right guys?
Yes.
Did those incidents change your opinion on that?
No, I think we have the right guys. I think there was mistakes made, for sure. We had those conversations, and there's a process when that happens through the league, through our team, security, all that stuff. And we'll go through that process and go from there. But yes, it does. As a leader of an organization, when the phone goes off and there's an incident and we're not doing what we're supposed to do, and we know what the standards are of being a Chicago Bear, absolutely bothers me.
Matt, was that particularly disappointing because you know Adams and you've been around him for years?
Yeah, I'll just, restate what he just said. We're just disappointed. It doesn't matter who it is. When we're disappointed in the actions, and I'm sure the players were disappointed that, that happened too. And you just move forward and educate and go from there.
Matt, obviously, we changed defenses for all the returning veterans. If Roquan and Robert are not on the field for any period of time, who are the guys you'll be looking to lead out there?
Yeah, so that's to me, I look at opportunity. So whenever I've had this in the past where somebody's either, not in or whatever, soft tissue injury or whatever that might be, we have to look at it as coaches as opportunity. So what we do is we develop our depth. So if that person was out, for example, last year we had a key player out, and then we played a game on Christmas, and the guy came in because he had all those reps in training camp, and man, he performed. And we won the game, and he was a big part of that. So we just look at it as opportunity, building our depth, having that pair and a spare at each position, and that's how we look at it. So it'll be, and again, I'm not going to go into who right now, but you will see that, and it's going to be opportunity for those guys to grow through experience.
Is it safe to assume, though, that you have a few guys on either side of the ball that, when things need to be jacked up, that you'll go to them?
Absolutely. We got to have that plan because, during the course of the year, it's a long season. Things happen in game, things happen week to week, and guys have to step up and it's next guy in, perform because of what we do now, laying the foundation in training camp. So,
Matt, what did you learn most about Justin during the time on the field that you guys had in the spring?
he's a really good ping pong player. No, I'm just teasing. No, he is though. He's right over there. I thought he might hear me, but yeah. I would say that his leadership and his grasp of the offense was outstanding. The way he learned and the way he grew that way. And we've talked about his footwork and his fundamentals. That's through the roof, going in a positive way too. So he's doing a great job right now. So we're excited about having him grow every single day, and he is too, and just getting better and better. And again, he's not where he needs to be, but this is why we have training camp. He's going to keep getting better and better and better all the way to the first game. So we're excited about his development.
Matt, in regard to that, how much do you need him to develop as a leader to, someone that his teammates can look to and really trust on the field?
Yeah, I think that's the nature of the position, isn't it? Right? So I think that, he's doing an outstanding job that way. And again, people lead by action. If I execute and I'm doing my job and the offense is working and operating the way they're supposed to, guess what? He's going to be in that leadership position. People always attribute leadership to being super vocal. Well, it's about execution, about making the plays when they need to be made in 2-minute, third down, in critical situations, and then operating just functioning, offense or defense. So that to me, where true leadership is. We can count on you, and you execute when you're needed to execute.
This question is for both of you all. Obviously, they'll have to earn it, but will you view it as a disappointment, either of you, if Kyler and Jaquan are not week 1 starters?
I would say that we are going to develop those guys, those young players, and we have no problem playing young players a lot. And that's been in our past. We've done that. And if they show they're ready to go and play 65 plays the whole game, that's what they'll do. If they show they can play part of that game, they'll play part of the game. It's all going to be based on performance.
You've got a vast collection of receivers, a lot of different paths into this building. In this next stretch, where will your focus be on sifting through that entire group and trying to figure out the right combination for the offense for Justin?
Yeah, one, they got to make plays. 2, they got to know the playbook and be where they're supposed to be. So, I'll lean on Tyke and Luke to, coach those guys up, and we'll see, where their room goes.
Ron, you've talked about the hunger piece to things. With some of these different paths that these guys have taken in here, how many guys in that room do you feel like are in that mold of Harry of having something to prove and trying to restart a career and keep it going?
Yeah, I think all of them. I mean, it's just at different levels. If it's to prove that they can play, if it's proving that they can sustain success over multiple years. So I think everyone has a chip on their shoulder to prove that they are that guy. So we'll see.
There's a lot of teams that, regardless of where they're at in the roster building process, they will talk at this time of year about the Super Bowl, and that's the goal. What, when you're at the beginning of your build here, what do you talk about with your staff and with the players about expectations and ambitions for this season?
Yeah, I think it's maximizing who your team is. Like, can you be the absolute best version of your team? Is like first and foremost. I always think you should shoot for the top and go for the Super Bowl. That has got to be your mindset. But then you got to bring it down a few notches below that and talk. You're going after playoffs, but you're also going after your division first and foremost every single year, regardless of where you are. In terms of our first year to our last year, you have to go after the division. That has to be the mindset. And then you go down one more step, and it's 1 week at a time. So there's different levels to it, but I think you should always have the mindset of going to the top.
Obviously dealt with a lot of off-field stuff, contract talks, all those things. And I know you're excited about camp the look on your face doesn't necessarily relay that right now, because we've had a lot of serious talks. But what are you excited about seeing as you walk around camp and things really get started and you see your group start to come together?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit, just like that gel. There's always that time during training camp where the team just starts to come together and you feel the units and the competition and people's personalities come out. I love to see guys develop along the way. They may be somewhere down on the bottom of the depth chart and they work themselves up to this surprise starter that it's like one of the coolest things to see. And then the other piece that, we haven't talked about much after my intro, but the fans. I mean, we get to load this place up and everyone comes and visits this campus and gets to see the team and interact with our players that, again, that was gone for a long time. So I'm just excited, and there's a buzz, like there's an energy to this building already with players starting to come in, and you'll feel the same when we're out at practice and on the field. So I'm just looking forward to the environment as well.
Matt,
If
When
Roquan,
you and the coaching staff sat down this offseason and developed a plan for Justin about what you want to see,
How important is training camp to that? Getting him regular reps, which is something that didn't really happen at this time last year.
Yeah, it's critical. It's critical. There's timing, there's chemistry with receivers and tight ends. There's pressure with preseason. And, I'd go back to the chemistry thing. I think working with the same guys, and they'll be changing, there's rotations and things, but you start to develop that feel for each other to know, when they're going to get out the top of their routes and back shoulder throws. Just that feel you get by taking all of those reps. So I'm excited to see.
Matt, you didn't have Al-Quadin Muhammad on the field during the offseason.
Right.
With him saying no pup, no NFI, I'm expecting you're figuring he's going to be out there. How important is he to kind of getting going and helping you guys accomplish what you want on defense because of your experience with him in the position he plays?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we brought him in, right? So on the onset, the thinking was that he holds the standard. He is the guy that's going to show a lot of the players how to play in terms of the effort, in terms of the intensity and execution. So he's had a great he's just a try-hard guy, that's really maximized what he has. And he had a really good summer, and we're excited about where he is.
Camp that are looking around going, a lot of my teammates aren't here anymore, the entire coaching staff is new, there's a lot of new faces. How do you lean on those guys? What do you want to see from those guys? And what kind of conversations do you have with them when they're looking around going, this is a totally different?
Yeah, I mean, in today's NFL, every year is different. I mean, the rosters change, guys move on, guys come in. I mean, so it's every year it's like that. So, and the veteran piece of it is important to every football team. So those guys are going to bring leadership, experience, perspective on a lot of things. And I ask those guys to do a lot of coaching. I really do. I ask those guys to really help out the young guys. That's what's great about the NFL. It's like a fraternity. And those guys learn from the pros, guys that had been in two contracts that are 29, 30 years old. Those guys have a lot of experience to impart that wisdom on the young guys. And that has to be done. And that's what happened to those guys when they were 22 years old, 23 years old. They leaned on somebody. Just ask them. They all have a guy that really helped them out those first couple years, because as a rookie you grow, a lot from year one to that second year, and somebody's got to be that guy to help you. It could be a coach, and it's going to be some of that's coaching, but man, a lot of that's going to come from those veterans.
Ryan, how does this feel different to you in terms of the job that you came from, where you're on a quest for answers right now on this roster, whereas that was not so much of a concern in Kansas City? You guys had a lot of answers.
Yeah, it's just, it depends on what year you're looking at, right? I mean, there was a journey to get to where you don't have answers, so I was a part of that, and you're relentless in your attempt to improve the football team, by bringing in the right players and also making sure that guys are put in a position to succeed as well.
Ryan, it feels. One more. It feels at times like you're doing your best to answer our questions, but it also kind of feels like you're usually thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. How much of your job of building this roster is just judging talent and character, and how much of it is being strategic?
I think there's always strategy. I think you always have to anticipate. I think you always have to have A, B, and C lined up in this position. I think that's important. But, yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to also evaluate and make sure that we got the right guys on the team.
If Roquan isn't,
one.
if Roquan's not practicing, is that going to change like your approach of him potentially calling the defense? I think Morrow was doing it mostly throughout the spring. Will you just stick with one guy, or do you want others to maybe get that green dot responsibility?
Yeah, I think that we'll do like with any player. So if a left tackle was out or even, a play caller was out, we would just adjust from there, and find the best available to us. And like I said, it's a great opportunity for the next guy up mentality. So you get experience there, and man, that's going to be, whatever the position, it's going to be really helpful for those guys.
But if he's not practicing, does that put you behind the 8 ball of where you wanted to be? At least just getting him, like knowing the calls, being able to relay it to everybody else, and maybe does that matter?
No, it's going to be a situation where we're going to make the best of it. And if it's opportunity for other people, in this league, you got to adjust. You got to adjust and adapt and overcome. That's what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.